Good morning from the den. This is going to be a quick one because I am working because I'm still chained to, well, it's Tuesday morning. I should be working. And also, of course, I've created a problem for myself in a story that I'm writing. I should never have let the giant come into town. That's my insight this morning that I had when I was in the shower. I should never have let the giant come into town. So will I push him back up the beanstalk or will I actually allow the town folk to interact with him, because he's turning out to be a lot more sensitive than we thought. So are the trials and tribulations of a children's author. Okay. So what I wanted to do was just come on here quickly today, because a couple of you have left comments about the Divine Feminine e-course, and that was a little course that I put together back in 2020 and I just sort of put it out there in the world for free, mostly to IFAF community, and then it sort of disappeared. So a few of you have inquired about that. So what I'm going to do is link that down below in the description bar so that you can go and have a look at that course. And now I just want you to be aware that it's very simplistic, and it's very much about me distilling a lot of in-depth reading into a very straightforward examination of what binary thinking means and how the divine feminine disappeared from our mental framework and our hearts. So it goes into all of that, but not in great depth. And so a lot of you that follow IFAF or are here with me in the den now probably know all this stuff anyway. So like there's even how to set up a divine feminine altar and things like that. So yeah, I just ask you to accept it in the spirit that it was given. A very, very not really cursory, but yeah, an overview of the basics, because I am a great stickler I always want to know the foundations of things. I want to know where they came from and understand the background of things before I make decisions. And so that's what this is all about. So for instance, when I was at university studying literature, it was a time when the Western canon was being thrown out the window in favor of way more experimental and diverse voices, and also sort of the Russian postmodernists and all this sort of stuff. And that was all well and good. Got no concern about that. However, I wanted to understand what was being thrown out. I didn't want to come in while things were thrown out and then just pick up from there. I really wanted to understand the Western canon. I wanted to understand what the dead white males had written, and I wanted to go in depth, and I wanted to make, to some degree, my own decisions about the value of the Western canon and what it still had to offer. And I also wanted to know within myself that I was rejecting things or not rejecting things based on my own gnosis. So that was really important to me. And it's a bit the same with witchcraft and the world of the divine feminine and all that kind of thing. I want to know as much as I can the basics before I start to build any kind of belief system or change my lifestyle or anything around that. So that's another thing. Oh goodness, sorry. So, and the other stuff that I just wanted to show you really quickly was a few little things that have come into my life in the last week that I've been really enjoying and that I wanted to share with you. So the first thing is yesterday I received the Tarot of the Abyss, which I had ordered online, and that is by Tourian, and it is feckin' gorgeous. I cannot tell you. This is a black and white deck, and the art is to die for. The line work is just so sensitive and beautiful, and the interpretations of the card of the Rider-Waite are so thoughtful and thought-provoking. Here's just some examples of the kind of art that's in it. It's really, I hope you can see that. It's just really, really beautiful, 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 beautiful deck that I'd seen it online. I'd seen someone using it online, and I thought, I want to get me that deck. That's what it looks like on the backs. It's just beautiful, and the book that goes with it is beautiful and sensitive and well written. Too small, way too small. But you know, there's a paper shortage at the moment, so we can't be complaining too much about paper products. And we're just blessed and lucky to have them. So I won't grizzle on that one. The other thing that I got and just devoured, and I've almost finished it in 2 sittings, is 4,000 Weeks, Time and How to Use It. And this is by Oliver Burkeman. This is extraordinary. I friggin' love this book. And you know, it's not a spiritual book per se, but it is. It is so beautifully written, and it's so interesting. And so finally someone's saying things that make sense about time and time management. It's just amazing. It says on the back here, just to nutshell it for you, drawing on the insights of both ancient and contemporary philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual teachers, Oliver Burkeman sets out to realign our relationship with time, and in doing so, to liberate us from its tyranny. And he does that. He does it beautifully. In fact, this book is practically, the whole thing's underlined, because everything in there I want to remember. So I need to come back and reread it and you know, make notes, because it's so insightful and it's so helpful. And he is also a really interesting writer that I hadn't come across before, because I'm always late to the party. But Oliver Burkeman is the author of The Antidote, Happiness for People Who Can't Stand Positive Thinking, and for many years wrote a popular weekly column on psychology in The Guardian. This column will change your life. His work has also appeared in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Psychologies, and New Philosopher. He has a devoted following for his writing on productivity, morality, the power of limits, which is so interesting, and building a meaningful life in an age of bewilderment. So I feel that I was led to this book because I went into the bookshop on Saturday morning, and I just sort of I was overwhelmed by all the choices of books, and I just sort of whispered, please give me a comforting book that I can lose myself in. And I put my hand on this, and it was the one. It was the one. Now, the only reason I haven't finished this in 2 sittings was because in the midst of all that, when the tarot deck turned up and distracted me, oops, it's falling off here. There's another, that's the Awakening. When the Tarot of the Abyss turned up and distracted me, at the same time, also this book, Fine on Acting, A Vision of the Craft. Now, I know a lot of you won't be at all interested in this, but I did talk about a while back ago how I really, really want to study acting. It's always been a passion for me that I've pushed to one side, and I'm really excited to take it on next year in a sort of a formal setting. And I'm really interested in Howard Fine, and he's a terrific teacher of acting and very, very well respected. He's in LA, but he also has a school here in Australia. So I got his book to read it, and lo and behold, what I have discovered is that studying the craft of acting is very much like shadow work. Very much like shadow work. So isn't it beautiful how so many things in your life, when you start to live a sort of a soul-led life, things start to really click into place and feed off one another and all sort of flow together. So I know that ironically, or not ironically, but weirdly, acting, you know, studying acting is going to also inform my spiritual life. So that was a kind of cool thing that happened. All right, I'm going to say goodbye now and get back to my giant who's sitting on his ass in the village street crying, and to see what I can do with him. And I'll do that, and I will put the link to the Divine Feminine course down below. It is hosted in Kajabi, which is my online platform that I use for my creative writing school. So that's why it's all sort of quite formal, and you have to put in your email address and all that sort of stuff. So I apologize to anyone who's nervous about that, but of course, hello, I'm not going to spam or slam or do anything to you. It's just the way that the software works and the way that the course is delivered. And also I prefer to do it in this way, in some way too, because possibly it will keep away, you know, tire kickers and trolls, which I've said before, I'm not interested in. So so that's another reason that I'm pleased that I've actually constructed this little course on Kajabi. All right, I do hope that you enjoy it and get something out of it, if indeed you feel drawn to have a look at it. Otherwise, I'll see you back in here with a proper, you know, a proper witchy video sometime fairly soon, I hope. All right, loads of love to you all, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for dropping by.